first and foremost, can't stress enough, thank you for joining us this week. Um, the controllers that I'm going to be looking at today is actually going to be the Spyder 5 VAV controllers. They have some nice graphics already pre-built for us, and the whole synchronization PX page already built out that we'll go through. And I'll also show you digging down into the program itself and where to find that. So right now, this is the Spyder 5 that we're going to be working with. It is a modified one that I did. The two programs that Honeywell gives you, they give you four programs that they pre-wrote, and that's going to be the TR23s, both analog and digital. And then they also wrote a TR40 digital and analog for the reheats as well. I've gone in and modified and created one for the TR120, and I've also done one for the TR40s, and I'll be working on doing one for the TR71s and 75s as well. Going in, if you're using Honeywell's programs, it's just quicker to go ahead and do a discover. And you're gonna have your discover pane right here, and along the top, if you've added their files to the templates, then just click this, and then you have the template screen that will open up, and you're basically just gonna select your controller, and you will select one of these four programs that they have available, and then you would just do add. I've already done that already, where I've added it with my program that I've done with the TR120. So one of the things that you're going to notice is if you're writing a program or you're using one of Honeywell's programs, here is right here under your IRM BACnet device manager, they're going to have this IRM application type. So as you write a program, Honeywell will self-generate a name or a type for that application that you're writing. And to do the synchronization, all the controllers that you're going to synchronize with one another all has to have that same application. So as you can see here, and then the one that I do have offline. So these two have to match. So going into their graphic, this is the graphic that they have created. It's, if you used any of the Honeywell Venom files, its graphics look pretty much the same, and they're set point screen. But the one that you want to go to is, if you right click, go to views, you want to look at their application config. So by default, any program that you're writing and anyone that you're using Honeywell-wise, they all come default with the synchronization set to true. So you don't have to worry about going into any of your function blocks and basically enabling that. So all of that comes in automatically as enabled. So with this graphic here, Honeywell has gone in and have made a nice little graphic for you to make it easier for you to synchronize. So if you are gonna make a program change to a VAV box, you know, you have here under flow controls where you've already set your min and max for your heating and cooling, what your K factor is, your duct size and everything. So if you selected one controller as the target controller, you don't want all the rest of them copying its airflows and everything like that. So it's easier to just go in here and uncheck these boxes here. So if you do the synchronization, then it won't you won't have to worry about going back and setting that back to what it's supposed to be. Same thing for CO2 controls. They do have CO2 sequence written into this for this VAV controller. Same thing for the temperature application, what type of heating you have, 2-stage, 1, 3. And then also tuning your pitch for that and setting your fans. And they have one where there's a discharge air temp sensor that's on the box itself. You can go in there and select what you need it to be. So with that, if we want to look at some of this, you can reverse engineer like I've done, where I've gone in, go to the edit form, and you can double click on this and then kind of go and look at where they've actually pulled these values from. So here's the occupied heating set point. Down here under default value, and then here's where that master sync is right there. So you would actually click on that, and that's what you would bring forward to your graphic to look at it. So even if I come here, go to my occupied heat set point, expand that. Okay, I guess not. So let's see here. RM program, programs, logic, network set point. So you're pulling it out of this right here. So which is where your master sync is right here. So I can go here, enable it that way, disable it that way, and then hit save. Some of the features that you have in here that you do mess with, your save button, if you've added that, you're gonna have to add that for a few of them, where it will highlight because it looks at it as a major deal. So you just have to do a teach afterwards. So just keep that in mind. And that would be here. I'm sorry, here. And so if you ever come into that, this would actually tell you not in sync. And so you would just hit the teach button here to sync the controller. under programs, low logic, network step funds. And in here's where that that master sync is right there as well. So even when you're building out your logic, if you want to go in and basically enable or disable that, you can do that with that as well. Do anyone have any questions at this time?
Hey, Damon. It's Daryl with AJ Miner. There were a couple of things I noticed, or we saw on the templates. When you change from absolute, this is just something for everybody. When you change that from absolute to relative, you got to really make sure you change the set point low and high, or it will really mess with things. And I think you have to do a full application, full teach when you make those changes. Does that sound right?
Yes, that is correct.
Teach, but a full.
Yeah, you have to do a full teach with that. I've noticed that as well. And even with their program, I've gone in and let me see if I can find mine. I've gone in and I have modified that to where it'll actually switch, because when you are switching between the relative and everything, it typically doesn't automatically change. So if you're doing the differential, like plus or minus 3 or 4 degrees, as opposed to
the actual
max of the actual temperature, it doesn't automatically switch back. So I've actually gone into that and actually used a switch and then put both of those values there. So whenever I do my my graphics, it'll switch those automatically to the correct points that you would have to use.
Okay, nice.
So and I haven't built the graphic out to show you guys, but yeah, I played around with that and I noticed that on the thermostat.
Okay. I did have one other on the set point access. Is there any way to change the tenant read write without doing a full teach to the controller?
So you're saying like giving the ability to look
and it's because it's done on the Silk device level, and every time you make a change there, you have to do a full teach. And I don't know if you found a way around. A lot of the building engineer wants to take away the control, just sometimes. And I don't think you can do that without doing a teach to the controller like you could on the old.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, any modifications, once you got those Silk devices on there, that's the only thing. And I've reported that to Honeywell to see if they can work on that. But anything dealing with the Silk devices, if you make any changes or even move the function blocks, it's going to force you to do that for teach again. It's just something in that the way they're doing the Silk devices, it makes it look like it's been a major change, and they force you to do the full teach again.
Okay. Thanks.
That was one of the things I went in and, like I said, I've been modifying a lot of their VAV programs, and one of them I took and I wrote a program in there that gave you the ability from the front end to enable doing the giving the customer access to make set point adjustments, and then or disable that, and every time I've touched it, I had to. So right now I'm looking at trying to figure out a way of being able to just put that button on the screen, kind of like what they have here for save, and then do a screen just for the Silk devices. And then that way, if anything is changed from there, then they would just have a button to be able to do a full teach as opposed to having to go back into the BACnet network and then go to RRM, select it and come here. And
Right.
that part, I haven't gotten that far into it yet to figure that part out. It should be doable. But like I said, I'm not there yet. So.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And so to everybody, what he was talking about was here under my under the program logic, we have a zone logic program, which is everything in here to do with your Silk device. And right now, what happens is that like this bypass time block is actually a Silk device. If I take and just do this, you're going to get that nice message saying that my controller is no longer synced and I have to do a teach for the modification, even though I haven't modified it or done anything. But if I come back to my BACnet network, now you will see right here, RRM sync status is saying that the project has been modified. And so I have to go back in and do this teach over again to get the program back in. So we'll wait for that to finish before we move on. Now the application full teach do take a little bit longer than just a teach to controller. It's just if you do the Silk, if that Silk message come up, always do application full teach. Sometimes I've done the teach to controller without that, and it is quick, but I have come up with some issues dealing with that Silk device. So it's always better to just do application full teach to controller if you modify or make any changes to the Silk thermostats or even the Silk actuators or the other sensors that they have. So. One of the other things that you would actually notice as well, which I think is actually pretty nice with using any of the Spyder 5 devices, is the Silk devices, Silk thermostats, anywhere from the TR40s all the way up to the TR40 120s. It will relearn the program itself from the controller. So unlike the Cypher 30s where you actually have to push the program down to the thermostat, You just download the controller, and then the Silk device will go and find its own program and load itself. So even if you got to replace it, you just pull that thermostat off, put the new one in there, and it goes to the controller and finds its program and re-downloads itself. All right, now that we've got that, we are in sync here. So one of the things now, if we have our program, everything all set up the way we want it to be, then what you would do is you would designate one of the controllers as the source. This is the controller that I want everybody to look at. And then you would go in and you would set the other ones as targets. And so this controller, if I had it online, it would start looking at the source controller and see if there's any difference or anything that has been made in that program. So this is why it's kind of important that if you are doing VAV controllers and you have here your minute max flows and stuff like that, it does look at that as a change, and it will go back in and copy those flows from that source controller down to all other controllers. So you kind of want to be careful with that. So this one is not going to do target because I don't have it online. But, oh, I'm sorry, Dave. So here's my target, there's my source. So you don't have to keep it that way. You can leave it that way if you want it to be. And then that way you always just make whatever changes on your source. But if you only doing this as a one-time off to help you make changes to anywhere from like 5 to maybe 50 VAV controllers on a air handling unit or anything like that, then you could actually set this up and only deal with your source controller and target and follow suit. Once you're done, it's just as simple as selecting all of them and then just hit none. And it would basically turn that feature off, so you don't have to worry about that. There is a deal here. You can set these, and then there's this master sync here. You can click that and force all your controllers to go in and sync at that time as well, which, as you see, it's just going to synchronize the difference for this application type. And then you just hit yes, and it will go through and do all of that. So so with that, that's basically it for the synchronization process. So you would basically, like I said, basically look at using the Honeywell ones. This is what you have. This is one that I was working on here. This is my favorite little program that I wrote using a VAV Spyder for a 3-fan speed fan coil unit. And again, even if you're dragging controllers from your palette that you may have created, and then you're dropping them into your BACnet network, it will come up and tell you that it has a default password. You can actually password protect the programming part of this controller, but there is no default password that I know of. So it's always going to come up with this message. Just hit OK. And then if I come down to this fan coil unit here, here's a programmed box and everything that I was working on, just playing around with it, doing some different things here. But here's where also I went in and was working on an application config view and started adding some stuff in here as well. So I haven't, like I said, I haven't finished it out, but it's just as easy as that. And same thing where you can go in and click on, oh, so with this one, I did change. So if you do pre-build this, you have to be careful with what you name your controller, because it will look at that. So if I come in here and look, I had it named just fan coil unit, but when I created the template, I named it fan coil unit 3-speed fan with electric heat. So you have to be careful with that. If you sometimes your data won't come in. So if I just go back here, rename this back to fan coil unit, hit OK. Back to here. So now here's where my data and everything is. So some of the stuff that I've gone in and added, like I said, I haven't changed it all yet. Whereas you can see where I have for the WoW mod thrown in there 6 degree, modify it however you want, and then I'm going to be adding in the temperature, high, min, and max as well, high and low, and then that way I can actually gonna go in and add, and that is if we look at here, yeah, program, zone logic. I gotta remember where to get to that. Can't remember exactly how to get to that to make that change. There it is. So this right here, the set point type, absolute or relative. So that way, when I change that, it'll actually switch between being able to do um, up and down 3 or 4 degrees, or actually doing a max of 75 to 68 or something like that. So. Do anyone have any more questions? If anyone doesn't have any more questions, we'll go ahead and end it here.